Welcome to The Bottom Line, a wrap of the business news of the day. I'm Frances Hurd, and let's start with the number of the day. If there's anything you should remember, perhaps it's this: 1.2 trillion rand. So that's just a reminder of how much the South African government wants to raise in new investments over the next 5 years. And of course, a big part of that effort being pushed by the president is the annual investment conference, which began today in Sandton in Johannesburg. We'll take you there shortly. At the inaugural South Africa Investment Conference last year, President Ramaphosa made promises for a more friendly, investor-friendly environment, potential investors gathering once more at the Sandton Conference Centre, and South Africa turning on the charm today and this week. The conference will run for the next 2 days. Let's see how it's starting. We're joined by SABC reporter Diabo Seto in Sandton for us. Diabo, today is more of a welcoming than the hard work. What's happening right now?
Good evening, Francis. Yeah, well, right now it is the welcome reception of the investment conference that we are also eagerly waiting for, that officially begins tomorrow. We know that the president of the country, President Cyril Ramaphosa, will be making a few remarks. The reason we are really hoping for investment into the country is because of the economic challenges, Francis, that you already know about. I'm sure people sitting at home, some of them are affected by particularly lack of employment. And we know that if we have employment and if we have investment, you know, things become a little bit easier on South Africans. So today, this evening, really mostly just delegates being introduced to each other, drinks flowing. But what caught my attention, Francis, is the issue that we have premiers from provinces as well, not only from Gauteng, who are going to obviously seek investment into their particular provinces. And one such premier is Premier Zamanisol of Northern Cape. I'm sure our viewers are very familiar with him. And we want to find out from you, Premier, what is the Northern Cape doing to invest, to attract the much needed investment into that province?
No, I think for starters, one must commend the president, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, for his foresight of convening such platform in order to allow us to have time to engage with a whole host of investors in different sectors of the economy. This presents a very great opportunity for the Northern Cape. The Northern Cape is one province with incredible investment opportunities which are still unlocked. Yeah. That is the reason why we are here, is to ensure that we get investors to go to the province in order for us to unlock the economic opportunities which are there. What
kind of opportunities are there, Premier?
One of the issues which have been consistently raised by the president is the fact that mining is the sunrise industry in the country. He's 100% correct with that. But the reality of the matter is that the next 100 years of mining are in the Northern Cape. So we are here to look for investors to invest in the mining industry in the Northern Cape. We are also looking for investors to go and invest in agriculture and also in the tourism sector in the province. But above all, the kind of investors that we are looking for is investors that will also embark on value chain activities. We don't want people to go to the province and only invest in extraction of raw material. But we want them to invest in extracting those raw material and ensure that there is a value-adding process so that we can develop our secondary economic activities, we can develop the manufacturing sector, which is currently the lowest contributor to the GDP of the province.
Premier, very shortly I'm going to speak to some of the entrepreneurs that are here showcasing their work. But what's in store for entrepreneurs who are based in the Northern Cape? How can businesses make investment into small businesses and entrepreneurs in that province?
Yes, there are different programs of government to ensure that we support small businesses and entrepreneurs in the province. Like, for example, we've got a growth fund that we have established, and we are currently increasing the capacity of the growth fund to ensure that we support small businesses, people who've got brilliant ideas. They can actually go to the Department of Economic Development so that we can look at ways of planting a seed capital into their ideas for them to mature into businesses in the Northern Cape. But also what we are doing through government procurement, We are prioritizing small businesses.
Are you paying them on time?
We are. We've got a program. We have embarked on a program to ensure that they receive money on their invoices within the first 30 days. So we are working on that. We've not mastered and perfected it, but we are working on that in order to ensure that we continue to sustain their survival.
Premier Zamani Zolo, thank you very much for making time to speak to us on SABC News. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Francis, that was the Premier of the Northern Cape, Mr. Zamani Zolo, and he was just giving us the lowdown on how they're doing it in the Northern Cape. But I just wanted you to also see the kind of entrepreneurs that are here showcasing their work. I have with me here Lerato. She does beautiful bags, and I see they're draped in Sishweshwe material. Lerato, hi. Tell me what you are hoping to get out of an investment conference, especially as a small business operator and owner.
Okay, what I'm looking to get is access to markets and access to investment, because most of our work is self-funded, but so we do it in the backyard. So if we get investments, we are able to grow, and as we grow, we are able to grow other entrepreneurs and other upcoming people. So if we can get access to these funds, that we are able to take our work not just in South Africa, but show the world that what we are able to do. I mean, most of the work, like we say, we do it ourselves. Some of it, as you can see, it's made out of plastic, which is repurposed work. So if we are able to get these places where we can just get not just the know, because we are creatives, but we want to be able to also grow ourselves as business people, because that way we are able to take it a step further and grow ourselves and just take it further.
Thank you, Lerato. Francis, I thought I should just show you a close-up of some of the work that Lerato does. Beautiful bags indeed. And just behind me also, there's a gentleman, I think he's left his stall for a while. He does plastic mats and cushions. Those are absolutely gorgeous. I think they're made out of plastic, but they look very, very nice. Unfortunately, he's currently busy. And sir, can you talk to us about your cushions? Can you? These are very nice. Tell us about your cushions and what you're hoping to get from the investment conference. Do you feel represented with this investment conference as a small business person?
First of all, I'm happy to be invited in this event. Yeah, they call us to come and show us our product, which product we are doing. And we came here to show people what we are doing. We got designs, different designs.
I see you use plastic for this. Tell us a little bit more.
It's not that like a plastic. You see this?
Yeah.
It's a polypropylene. Polypropylene.
Polypropylene.
Yeah, it's a material, polypropylene. Yeah.
All right.
We are doing this from raw material.
Yeah.
We buy polypropylene and master batch. Then we mix it. We put it to the machine, the extruder machine. We make the straw first. After we take the straw to the machine, then we start the machine. For pattern, this pattern. Yeah. We also have done for this one. Also, wait.
On the floor. Oh, the one of Soweto. Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Thank you very much. Francis, I know that I don't have much time, but I thought I should show you also what Noami Creations is doing here. It's also beautiful, colorful work. Indeed, if you are an investor from outside, there's no way you cannot get some of the beautiful apparels, the earrings, and hats, and everything that the small business people are showcasing here today. But of course, most of the work, Francis, is going to be beginning tomorrow. And so far, South Africa has collected about 300 billion rands. And the target, as you had said in your number of the day, that we need to collect more than 1.2 trillion rand. And we'll see what kind of investments we see out of there when we start tomorrow, bright and early, from Morning Live. But it's not over for me. Later on, I will be speaking to more people to hear about their views of the investment conference. And it's over to you, Francis.
Thank you very much, Diabo Seto, at the investment conference in Sandton. And of course, like she says, the real work gets underway tomorrow, and we'll see who's spotted. We need investors with clout and with the cash. Well, earlier today, President Cyril Ramaphosa launched the Tshwane Automotive Hub in Silverton, saying it would lead to the type of investment that South Africa has been talking about. The hub is part of the expansion of the OR Tambo International Airport Special Economic Zone, born out of a commitment from the automotive sector at the first investment conference last year. The hub is intended to attract new automotive component manufacturers. It's also expected to strengthen the city of Tshwane's positioning as an automotive city. It's a partnership between the Trade and Industry Department, the city of Tshwane, and manufacturer Ford.
Not only will this automotive SEZ catalyze further growth in a sector that is the mainstay of our national industrial base, it will also bring jobs. It will also help to support local businesses, but it will also help to spur the growth of our city's economy. I'm pleased to note that the 18 companies that have been engaged to set up their own operations in this SEZ are already revving up their own engines and are rearing to go. And I'm told that 9 of them have already confirmed to set up factories here by January 2021. Now, if you never thought of anything that's uplifting, the building of a factory, the building of an industrial facility, is one of the most uplifting things that you can have in any economy. And it is happening here, under our own noses, and we are grateful for that.
All right, more than one piece of good news around the auto sector for consumers. That is the fuel price dropping from midnight tonight. All grades of petrol will drop by 13 cents per litre, diesel coming down by 14 cents and 16 cents. Paraffin will drop by 31 cents per litre. The Energy Department says the main reason is lower crude oil prices. Prices change, of course, those price changes happen on the first Wednesday of every month and take into account the global price for oil imported for petrol, as well as the dollar-rand exchange rate. Now, Colin Coleman, CEO of Goldman Sachs for Sub-Saharan Africa, will be stepping down after 20 years at the company. He's been at the helm of the international banking firm for just over a year, having become managing director in 2002, a partner in 2010. He'll be taking up a senior fellowship and lecturing post at Yale University in the United States next year, and plans to help bridge the gap between the public and private sector back home. At Yale, Coleman will teach a graduate level course called Africa, Doing Business in the Last Frontier of Global Growth. Earlier, he spoke to SABC's economics editor, Tandeka Ngobule.
Mr. Coleman, you'll be stepping away from Goldman Sachs to pursue a new direction in your career. You're joining Yale University, an institute where you'll be looking at a number of business challenges, especially looking at that nexus between the private sector and the public sector and how those could better optimize the interactions. Tell us why you are stepping away at this time.
I've been in investment banking now for 25 years, after a period as an anti-apartheid activist in the 1980s leading up to the 94 elections. And I've been 25 years there, of which 20 has been at Goldman Sachs. So that's a very considerable amount of time, 2 decades of time, which has been a privilege and an honor to serve in that capacity, and very dynamic experience with multiple transactions across the economy, which have focused on South Africa and the broader continent. And I feel at this point in time, I'm at a stage in my career where a new chapter can unfold that will bring together the public and private sectors and the talents I have in that regard. My appointment to Yale University provides somewhat of a transition into intellectual thought leadership, and provides a bridge for me to get into a future 20 years, which will be focused on my particular strength, which is the private sector and public sector interface, and how I can be of assistance in South Africa and more broadly in the world in driving change and development in in that regard.
What's your take on our economic crisis?
Well, I just think there's so much upside. You know, we're at a 0.5% growth rate. Our capacity growth rate probably is 2% now, but it could trend up to 4% if we get things like Eskom fixed. So we really are at the bottom of the South African economic potential outcomes. And I certainly say to potential investors, you know, if you buy assets priced at this point in time for the bottom, there is potential upside in that pricing if the economy turns around. And there are so many basic things to get right. The visa regime, the spectrum regime, you know, just our basic functioning of the public service, which is so costly and so wasteful at this point in time. Education workers, health workers, police workers doing their jobs more efficiently, being more, I would say, Singaporean-like in the behavior, and trying to get real accountability for these things. You know. So I think there's a lot of wastage in the system, and we can, you know, reprice the economy to a much better point by just getting the basics working.
As you step away from the circle of business leadership in South Africa to take on a new academic and research role and to reflect on the challenges that face us, what would you say in a phrase to the leadership that you're leaving behind?
Well, just to firstly say, I won't be stepping away entirely. I may well play a role in the private sector in relation to companies and remain close to them. But I would, my main message to the business sector would not be dissimilar to the message I leave about the Mbeki era. We need to be much more positive, much more engaged, build the momentum that we saw on the box side against England to crash through some of the problems that we have. And it's not going to be by watching the government. You know, that one of the problems with the government is they don't have the skills base to manage and execute projects. They don't have the knowledge base to get policies implemented in a good way. And it's up to the private sector to be part of that solution. So I think we need to be very engaged. I know between BUSA, BLSA, which I've participated in very, very actively, the CEO initiative, and I remain co-chairman of the Youth Employment Service initiative with many businesses participating. These are practical ways for us to engage in practical platforms for business to remain engaged with the government.
So Colin Coleman stepping down from Goldman Sachs, but it sounds like we'll still see him in those various capacities and go well. All right, the market, no great shakes today, basically treading water, the rand stabilizing after recovering yesterday. Let's see if lots of good news comes through in the investment conference tomorrow. That was the bottom line.